Welcome to an eye-opening episode of Science News. A report from the Lancet Commission on Pollution and Health states that pollution was linked to the deaths of 9 million people around the world in 2015. This means that 1 out of every 6 people who died in 2015, their death was tied somehow to pollution. In the US, around 155,000 deaths were linked to pollution in 2015, or about 5.8% of all of the deaths in the country in that year. In the UK, 8% of their deaths in 2015 were linked to pollution, or about 50,000 deaths. 92% of all the global deaths caused by pollution in 2015, 92% were in poor countries like Bangladesh, Somalia, Chad, Niger, Nepal, South Sudan, and Eritrea. All of these countries have had more than 20% of their deaths in 2015, or more than 1 in every 5 people who died, their deaths were linked directly to pollution. This pollution comes in the form of both air and water pollution. That in the air takes the form of smog, particulates in the air from burning wood and charcoal or industrial fuels, particulates near roadways from brake rubber dust, and the exhaust fumes from diesel vehicles. Pollutants in the water include industrial runoff or waste dumping, biological waste like feces or the corpses of people and animals, and other pollutants like oils, plastics, and pharmaceutical chemicals that have leached into the water. The studies cited in the Lancet report claim that air pollution contributed to 6.5 million premature deaths, while water pollution contributed to the deaths of 1.8 million people. Another source of pollutant exposure for some people comes from their place of work. They either work with some kinds of dangerous chemicals, or they're in a machine shop or a garage that exposes them to metal dust, welding fumes, or toxic industrial chemicals like lubricants, fuels, and high-strength cleaning solvents. A consistent tragedy with all the environmental factors is that the weakest among us are generally made to suffer the worst. The children and the elderly tend to have weak, sensitive lungs that are easily disturbed and inflamed by pollutants and airborne irritants. Additionally, those in poor countries or poor neighborhoods suffer disproportionately from these environmental pollutants. Poverty exposes people to low-quality living conditions, which can include water contaminated with heavy metals or plastics, and neighborhoods near highways with air saturated in brake dust and diesel fumes. A lot of jobs in developing countries are dangerous, with low pay and poor working conditions, and this contributes to the trend of the poorest people in these societies being the most exposed to dangerous pollutants. This Lancet report is just more evidence demanding that we reform our consumption habits and drastically cut back on the heavy pollution our industrial and economic behavior is creating. There's a lot of people who are dragging their feet when it comes to responding to climate change and human-created pollution. They don't seem to prioritize the health of our ecosystems very high, or at least not above the priority that they give to profit and perpetual economic growth. This Lancet report will hopefully help convince people that we are a part of the natural world just as much as the animals and the plants around us, and we are affected by pollution just like every other species. Our own waste and careless pollution is not just killing animals and plants, it's killing millions of us every year. So hopefully we can get our act together and solve this problem before it gets worse.